All right, Eric, since you like to talk right now, what's our next topic?
Oh gosh, switch to image leaks.
All right,
You got
well,
it up or no?
why don't you tell like
Yeah,
some
yeah,
of the
yeah.
information
No, I
behind
know.
it while I
Yep.
get it up.
So this came from a Chinese social media site, but everything has since been deleted. The person is a 3D modeling enthusiast. So the CAD models that we have
She'll show in a second here.
from them are him reverse engineering the sample that they got their hands on. The sample is real. The images aren't faked, and there is strong evidence it's injection molded with the classic demarcation of injection molding, which is extremely expensive. All right. Also, for some reason, there are people backing it. VGC's Andy Robinson said he has a source that has said says the images match what they know about the system. In addition, Geekshare,
I was about to say the Geekshare thing too. Yeah.
gaming accessory manufacturer, has a top manager backing the claims in China. The PBC shows what the heck is PBC or PCB?
That is the motherboard.
Oh, got it. Okay. There you go. Shows evidence that it was manufactured in October of 2023, suggesting that this is either from late 2023 prototype or dev unit. Thus, the design is likely close to final, but there may be some changes. As an example, the manufacturing leaks a couple days ago suggested a U-shaped kickstand. This is still in play.
Yeah. So obviously, like what I have on screen right now, this is like the big one that people are looking at. There's also one more that shows like the side of the new Joy-Cons, which I do think is notable, and we'll look at. Like the biggest thing about these leaks is that they seem these ones in particular, the actual images. People have been trying to disprove these all day. Like, are these photoshopped? Are these? No, they are not. And people actually that were professionals that have done injection molding and do professional 3D printing actually zoomed in. Heads up, you can't see my camera. What?
I can see his camera.
I can't. Oh, maybe
Yeah,
it's just me
I
then.
see it.
Yeah, Nick. Dang.
Oh, now I can see it. Oh, that was just me.
Anyways, so people have been trying to disprove this all day, and no one can disprove this image and the one other we'll show you in a moment. And people did a lot of close examining, and it's definitely injection molded. And for injection molding, because people were worried like this was going to be like that NX thing, right? Where someone 3D printed and faked the internet based off a Nintendo patent.
Oh man, those are fun times.
People thought this would happen, and there's already things in it that are different than that. One, we see an actual PCB, which that's pretty hard to fake. You'd have to pay to get that made. And you can pay to get custom PCB made. It is possible to fake those, but they're not cheap to get a custom one made. So you consider that that's not cheap. You consider that injection molding, dude, to get those molds made can be like upwards of $50,000 per mold. Yeah. So like for someone to spend that kind of money to fake this,
just to fake this,
and the fact that some of the stuff it's faking was leaked like 2 days ago, so the molds wouldn't even be ready yet. Some of the stuff like the press fit of the Joy-Cons pressing in instead of sliding on, that was from a manufacturing leak 2 days ago, and so that wasn't known publicly until 2 days ago. How would someone get the molds made by then and have this done in a professional way? So a lot of things line up that this is probably in some way, because the story basically is that this guy who's a 3D modeling enthusiast paid a shitload of money to a third-party manufacturer of accessories to get their hands on this. So this could have been
the richest Nintendo nerd ever.
This could have been one of Nintendo's manufacturing partners. And what's funny, one of their accessory manufacturing partners. And the funny thing is, there's two different ones kind of suggesting that they have something going on. Satisfy also said something on Twitter about how they're already working on accessories for this thing.
That would be great.
They might even have hands on something like this. And you might go, well, why would an accessory maker have like this PCB? Well, notice the PCB doesn't have the chipset on it or any of that stuff. But you know what it probably can do? If there's electromagnets, they need to show a way for the electromagnets to turn on, something to run a current through. So you need the PCB. And if you look on here, and we'll look at this other image that shows it from the side, is indeed, look, they have the chipset inside where it would charge the Joy-Con when you press it on. So that could enable the power just to turn on the magnets so they can make accessories that work with the magnets. So it kind of would make sense that they may have something like this for the purpose of making third-party accessories, third-party controllers, and stuff like that. So it is very fascinating that those seem to be the people backing this up. Meanwhile, the claim was he bought it from somebody like that. So, and this is obviously an older one. I would assume there's probably a newer version that they have now, which is why this company was willing to sell this, to this guy. How he got his hand? I don't know. It's all in China. So who the hell knows how he actually got it? And he deleted everything. And that theory is the Nintendo ninjas came after him. That's the theory on why he deleted everything, which could be.
So I gotta say one thing because I have to be out. I'm at time, right? Yep. Is that I think the design looks cool. I think it's real, but I think it's outdated. Like the actual model that when and if it gets made and whatnot is going to be a bit updated to that, because I was talking with a friend of mine that the Joy-Cons. Can we look at the Joy-Con images?
Yeah,
really quick.
Yeah, the real ones here. This one?
No, the 3D printed one. There was one specific aspect. Keep going.
Hold on, it's probably is it this one?
No, the next one. No, the next one. The next one.
No,
the next one. That one. The last one. The last one. That, bro, we were debating so much on what that ugly ass button could be, and we were saying oh, that button could be a specific button for the Joy-Cons when it's on the side, or it could be the new release hatch. And I'm if that is if that's the release hatch, that is they need to update that. I don't like that. But with that being said, I got to be out of here. So thank you all so much for having me. I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully I'll be around a lot longer, but later.
Yeah.
Later.
Bye, man.
Now let's stay on that topic a little bit, because I think that is my biggest takeaway from the new design of the system. Is the biggest change seems to honestly be the different design for the. I think that's absolutely the release hatch. It's in the same place, but I've got a Joy-Con here. Guys, the Switch OLED Joy-Con. We all know the little nipple on the back, basically, that you press to release your Joy-Con. This thing sucks. It's not good.
It's way too small.
Yeah, it gets stuck sometimes. It doesn't go down very far. I think especially if they want this to be a very clean system where it's very simple and elegant to remove the Joy-Con. I think a bigger button that has a little bit more press to it, very clear when it's on and off. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's an improvement, frankly.
You also have to think about it if the Joy-Cons are going on the side and they're going in and pressing in, if you have a button there that you can click your fingers around and pull out, that's a lot smoother than trying to find that tiny little button and push in so you can pull out and just click, boom, and then it slides out. I was testing it at work today, visualizing in my head of click out, back in. It's clean. I'm okay with it as long as it works as it's intended.
Yeah, is everyone still thinking magnetic, right?
Yeah, I think
still on the
No,
magnetic
clear,
page,
yeah.
right? Yeah, so it's like a release button.
Yeah, it pulls the magnet away.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Do you guys?
There's actually magnets that if you there's a mechanism with certain I saw
it reminds me of the Hori ones.
If you twist something, the magnet shuts off, and it's not an electromagnet. It's just a physical mechanism. And this could be one of those things where you press that and it turns that physical mechanism it puts it in the way or blocks the signal or somehow, and the magnets can disconnect. Now, I the reason we think electromagnets in general is because of the shipping data suggested that there's electromagnets. The electromagnets might not be on the Joy-Cons side. It might just be on the console side. And some people wonder, well, why would they use electromagnets? It costs electricity. Well, because electromagnets always work. Real magnets actually become demagnetized over time.
It takes a long
It's
time.
a long time.
Yes,
Well past the lifespan of what the system's going to be. But, some people are kind of rough with their stuff. Some people shove it in their bags next to cell phones and other shit that might mess with it. Electromagnet doesn't have to worry about that. But I think the electromagnet side would just be on the Switch's side. I think if there's also magnets on this side, not just metal, but actual magnets on both sides, because that actually does create a stronger connection. If you have magnets on both sides, that it wouldn't be electromagnets on the Joy-Cons, especially just because, hey, battery life. Little tiny controllers.
I think that makes sense.
So this could be literally a physical disconnect, and that could be why the button's so big, because maybe it's actually a significant press to make it work. So they made it bigger to make it more comfortable to do it.
It reminds me of the Hori. What are they called? Whatever those Joy-Con grips are. It's a little bit. Yeah, the split pads. Yeah, they're a little bit bigger if I remember. I got to put away. It's been a while since I've used them, but that's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah.
I'm also trying to figure out which direction that button is going to go. Is that going like towards the like on that one? Is it going towards the outside of the Joy-Con, or is it going
I think it's
straight
towards the
down?
outside.
Yeah, it's going towards the hump.
It's going towards the hump, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Because that's the
what
only
I
place where
figured.
there's space to like capture it. Like it
Or
has to go
I think
somewhere.
it's gonna be like going like in and down,
Into the hump.
like
Yeah.
in and down.
Hmm.
This is the way I think it's going based on. But we got to remember though that this is obviously a 3D model. We haven't seen it with the real button in.
Mhm.
This is just his guess at what shape that is based on the shape of the curvature of the cutout. Also, to me, I hate to say this, if this is real and legit and they keep this design and didn't move it and do something else, I think this also pseudo confirms that there is no analog triggers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's no room for it.
I mean,
Which
those triggers look basically
Once we
identical.
saw this and we saw the way these Joy-Cons look, these Joy-Con 2s or whatever they call them, it very much looks like it's very similar to the current Joy-Cons. Couple key differences that I hope this, but we'll get to that in a bit. But what's nice about it is that continuity. It's just they're digital buttons. It is what it is. One thing I wanted to look at because there's obviously some interesting stuff here, like this showing a second USB-C port on the top. That is definitely a big difference from the current one because we only have it on the bottom. People speculate what this could be for. One, some people want to plug the cord in from the top when you're in handheld because get it out of your way, right? You don't have to bring it up through your crotchal area to charge your system while you're in handheld.
Or even if you have the
Top mode.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you have the dock flipped out,
And there's a lot of headphones that are USB-C as well.
Yeah, true.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, good point.
Do we think that we're finally using Hall Effect joysticks? So there's no drift?
What are you talking about? There was never drift.
Yeah.
It's a figment of your imagination.
That's that's the only thing I can think about right now.
One thing I do like, and this is just from the render, we honestly don't see, is you see like the control sticks. These look like normal control sticks. That might be hopium on the renderer person for them to be normal control sticks. But these
they do look taller.
They do, yeah. The shell, like if we go back to the actual shell, because we have two legit photos. These do look thicker.
They do, yeah, a little
and
bit.
like these buttons are chonkier.
They're definitely longer.
Yeah, and they're longer. Well, the system's a little bigger, right? So with them being thicker, it is possible. Like if you look at where everything's located, that there could be an actual standard control stick, which isn't the Hall Effect ones that I want, but those are a little bit more expensive. And with Nintendo trying to cut costs everywhere, and by the way, none of the systems come with a standard Hall Effect, like in the box. Your DualSense doesn't have Hall Effect. Your Xbox Series controller doesn't have Hall Effect. You can get them in third-party controllers, but they don't have them. So Nintendo probably also doesn't feel any pressure to do it because, again, no one else is doing it. So why do we have to do this thing? Unless it's a feature we want to tout as a selling point. And I think Nintendo isn't at the point that they think a control stick is a selling point for them. They're going to think the games are a selling point. Or, as we'll get into later, possibly a microphone is a selling point, although we don't see a spot on this thing for a microphone. Well, there actually might be a spot in one of the renders, actually. But I don't know, man. This looks. I gotta say, is anyone disappointed that this basically just looks like a bigger Switch?
No,
that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I love the
fine.
Switch. I just want to play more Switch games, have more power, get more third-party games. I don't want. I was so petrified as a Nintendo fan that we were gonna go from like a 3DS to a Switch, and it was gonna be this crazy thing, and it wasn't gonna be the same. And I'm like, listen, maybe it's not as creative as it could be. Maybe it's not as like ingenuitive and focusing on a fun little gimmick. Like, I don't care. I just want to play more Switch games on a better Switch with a better screen and more power. That's all I want.
yeah. You know what I would like is a D-pad.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
I really like a D-pad. I'm a big fan of it.
They're gonna go keep the split design because they're keeping
know.
the whole two-player controller thing.
And it's
I hate
okay
that.
because third parties will come out and make something,
And
and
the
then
Pro controller is gonna have
yeah.
a D-pad, obviously.
That'll be interesting to see what the new Pro controller design is like. I think that'll be a little bit more different from the.
I hope it's more like the Wii
Me
U
too.
controller, like 70 hours of battery life, and I love that controller, man. I don't care what anybody says. It's a great controller.
Not pictured here.
Rumble, man.
Are we still on the colored button theory?
Yeah,
I know they're not in there, but
I am. Well,
I
this
could
is,
see colored buttons going great if that's the like final color, like that slightly darker matte black. Color buttons would look pretty sick.
I
I
will note
expect it.
that I don't know if this is like a final. Obviously, this is a prototype or some sort of dev unit from back in October of 2023. But I don't know that looking at this, that is the color. I'm curious how Nintendo does colorings. I don't know if they do full injection molding colorings or if they have just everything's injected the same, and then they have a different. There's other methods to like put color. I'm not gonna say paint. Some of the stuff is obviously painted, like some of the special editions and stuff, but some of the colorways, I do wonder if they're using a coating instead. I don't know if I've never cut a color Joy-Con in half to see if it's colored all the way through.
Sounds like a great video idea.
I'm sure there's one out there. Let me go look.
There's gotta be one snapped in half or something
Right.
somewhere,
Joy-Con
right? Like someone
cut in half. I'm
Cut
just
in
gonna
half.
just Google that.
I'm actually
Joy-Con cut in half.
But-
Yeah, looks like the shell or the whole thing is red all the way through.
okay. So
like-
then they must injection mold the actual color with the plastic.
Yep.
So that's good. But obviously, because the reason I bring this up is there's that rumor about the black and white possible Joy-Cons. And again, this is from October of 2023. So the manufacturing rumor is actually from like 2 days ago and recent from supposedly assembly beginning. This is obviously from October 2023. So obviously things can change. This is obviously like a prototype versus, that's what we're saying. Like what we're seeing here, guys, doesn't necessarily mean it's final, but some of the basic things here are probably final, like the fact of snapping it in with the magnets. That's probably a finalized design. The extra button that you see on the right Joy-Con below the home button, see that little square cutout? That doesn't exist on the current Joy-Cons. That has been a rumor for a while that there was some sort of extra button on the controller, all the way back to the MOBA pad stuff that they put out there. Yet again, another accessory. Seems that Nintendo might have made a mistake giving these accessory people certain access to things, because this
Yeah,
is
it sounds like it.
Yeah.
sounds like they made a mistake with this, but probably not going to do that again. I hope all you accessory manufacturers enjoyed your 15 seconds of fame. I appreciate it. Thank you for the content, but Nintendo might not invite you next time. But what's that button going to be for? It's square, just like the button on the other side. That's the share and screenshot button. Are they going to separate it out?
Well, one thing that I was talking with a friend earlier today of what that could be potentially is if there is a microphone built into the system, that could be a mute button. Because other controllers that have something built in, you have to be able to toggle if the microphone's on or not. So yeah, I was someone just said in the chat the button is probably an on and off mic button. I think that's pretty likely.
That would be great, actually.
Yeah. It also depends on where the mic is. Now let's just go around the chat. Do you think it makes more sense for the microphone to be in the? It has to be in the Joy-Con, I guess. Is it in the right Joy-Con? Is it left Joy-Con?
I think it's on the Switch.
That'd be a pretty powerful microphone to pick up your voice from like all the way on the couch to the TV.
Oh, I think when you dock it, that microphone stops working. And you have to like get an accessory for the Joy-Con, or you have to have a Pro controller that has a mic built into it.
That's a good question, because guys, like I think about this. Whenever I would travel for work, I would prop the Switch up, on the fold down tray on the plane, and then I would connect my Pro controller. So I never used my Joy-Cons, right? And I'm not the only one who games like that. So it would actually make sense for the microphone to be on the actual Switch, because there are other ways of playing it. And so if I'm not using the Joy-Cons, that means I can't use the microphone. I don't know. But then if you flip it around and say, okay, maybe it is in the Joy-Cons, and then it's also going to be in the new Pro controller, right? So it's either or, but it's got to be. It can't be flip-flop like that. They can't just be in the Joy-Cons, but not also in the Pro controller.
I'll also say this. One way they can solve this is they can put the microphone on the Switch for obviously when you're using it in handheld mode. But let's say you take your Joy-Cons off to use them. Well, if you look at this press fit, there's going to have to be a new, what do they call that thing? The Joy-Con grip. There's got to be a new grip to snap those into. They can put a microphone on that grip as well.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
I didn't even
possible.
think about that.
Yes, you put a microphone on that grip that gets powered, obviously, when you connect, through the batteries of the actual Joy-Cons.
That would definitely make it more expensive though, because that would actually have like
Well, yeah,
hard like tech in it.
Jump that into the Hall Effect
do
joysticks.
we think these microphones are anything other than like some 5-cent
Fair enough.
like yeah. Let's also I'm gonna let Chris come in here and talk for a second. I just want to, before I bring him in, I'm gonna get this new image out. This comes from Family Boards, where they pointed out what everything on like we're seeing here, where all the different components go, because I think that's also interesting to consider when we're looking at the layout of it and considering another topic we're gonna get into a bit later. So let me just get this featured up here, and then Chris, go ahead, man. What are your thoughts on all this?
So I do think that the extra hole is for a mic. I think it just makes sense to me. It's easy. You have it handy all the time. Even when you're playing handheld, you just have it right there. So I do think that it's for a mic. Now, call me crazy. Is there a chance that you could actually press on the mic to mute it? It doesn't seem really far fetched to me that something like that could happen.
It's possible. Definitely possible.
It's on the
So
PS5 controller to mute the mic,
Yeah.
so it would make sense. It's a good point,
Yeah, I
Chris.
think
Well, he's saying
I
like
think
press
that's
on the mic
definitely the mic.
itself, which is not how the PS5 controller works, but it's close.
Pressing the mic.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the little button to mute the mic on the DualSense. It's not the microphone. The microphone is like
Oh,
half a centimeter.
so you're
down.
talking about holding down a button to speak into a microphone?
Well,
No,
he's saying
I'm
that hole would be the microphone, and you also press it to mute it.
Yeah, like I
Which is
know you
possible.
touch it or you press it to mute it. I think that could work. I mean,
A mute
there's a lot of
button. I
microphones
can
that
actually
you
see it being
yeah.
the mute button for sure.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Because I don't see how else maybe the thing you said about the grip, where you could have the mic on the grip and also on the console, but I think that's just extra steps. I think that could be the mic pretty easily. I don't see why not.
Okay. So we have this image here. I'll make it bigger for people watching the video version. This was put together by somebody over on Family Boards, where they were pointing out like what all the different things are that we're seeing on the board. Because obviously there's missing aspects, like you have the speakers up here at the top on the left and right. Next to that left speaker at the top, you see where probably the SD card reader slot would go in. And you see the USB-C aspect that would be for the dock, and then over to that, to the right of the Joy-Con facing up and down, you see the combo GPU CPU. That's your T239, and then 2 RAM modules that are supposedly 6 gigabytes each. We're getting that into the leaks, so 12 gigabytes total. What's interesting is people have been looking at this combo CPU GPU area, and they've been wondering if they can discern if this is going to be 4 nanometers or not. Or an 8 nanometer chip. They've been getting real down to like counting little individual pins and stuff on the board. It's been insane. People feel pretty confident that this confirms 4 nanometer, but we'll see on that. You see the game card connector down there, which nice thing to note here, guys. There's one game cartridge slot. If it's backwards compatible, everything just goes in the one slot. So that's pretty cool. The headphone port, yes. Nintendo's keeping it around, baby. Let's go. Keep those 3.5 millimeter jacks alive. Then your other USB-C port, and that's what we saw in the cab models, where there is a USB-C port at the top. And then this little section here that's in the red rectangle towards the middle, that is apparently what they think is the display ribbon cable connector. Obviously, the connector is not actually there. Just all the traces for it match up with the switches one. And then underneath that Joy-Con going up and down is a cooling fan. Still using active cooling. Makes a lot of sense. Probably a much bigger heat sink than we saw on Switch. No explanation, obviously, on any of the new stuff that's on the side, like if these are magnets or stuff on the rails, because we don't know 100% for sure. They'll just be guessing. And then that big giant black area, that's obviously the battery compartment, which I saw Digital Foundry make a comment that hey, that battery compartment is smaller than on the normal Switch, which I think is kind of interesting, because I don't actually think it is smaller than what's on the normal Switch. I think they're not considering that this is bigger, like this is area than the normal Switch. Yeah. Also, I took a look at it based on, I know we don't know the exact thickness, but I went and looked at an opened Switch OLED and its battery compartment without the battery in. It does not look as tall as that. Like the height on this, so the battery's thicker, at least. So take that for what you will. We obviously don't know how big the battery is going to be in this bad boy, but just kind of interesting, I thought, to kind of look at where everything goes on this board, because as far as anyone can tell, what we are looking at is a real prototype of the Nintendo Switch 2.
Parts of one, yeah.
Yeah, parts of one. Obviously, we don't have the screen, but like an accessory manufacturer wouldn't need the screen and all that stuff to get parts ready. You know, they're mostly going to be working on controllers, right? For launch, anyways. Controllers and cases to fit it in, stuff like that.
Here's a question. Now that we see the game card slot, are we still assuming that there's not going to be like a little notch or something? Like, are they going to be slightly bigger?
It's going to be a
I
3DS
can't
thing.
exactly tell.
Yeah, it's going to be like the 3DS and DS.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, card reader's not there for us to know, but backwards compatibility has been like so many insiders and so many people have said it's happening. So I think it's just going to be a little notch, or if it's not a notch, it is possible that it could take two different sizes.
Yeah.
Either that, or you could just do something as simple as like if you take a Switch 2 game and you plop it in the Switch just says, "Hey, this is not compatible with this device."
You need to go
Like,
back.
yeah, that doesn't work.
Here's the list of your favorite retailers.
Go spend a couple $100.
They finally
Spend
enabled
$400.
They finally enabled the web browser on Switch just to make sure you can click through and buy a Switch 2.
Yeah, like I think this is great for us to be able to see this picture and everything. But again, this is by no means final.
Correct.
But I think this is a correct cutout of what we're going to see. But I still think, as far as the color, I think we're going to get colored buttons. I think those exist for a reason. They exist in Switch game menus for a reason. There's definitely a lot of reasons why we would have colored buttons in that case, and also to differentiate it from Switch One.
And then this entire board could be completely different than what we're actually getting. You know, it's not hard to redesign the board.
Yeah, they could be moving the layout of things around. We're going to hear like a rumor on specs today that lines up very, very well with a lot of shipping information. And in there is this thing of two fans. In this, we obviously only see a spot for one. Maybe there is two in the final design, but there was only one at the time a year ago. Or maybe that one's in the dock. We don't really know, right? There's been a lot of speculation about being in the docks.
I hope so. I'm a big fan of it.
Idea.
I would love for both fans to be on the system, because if both fans are on the system, that means when this thing is in docked mode, they are boosting the fuck out of it.
I think it's gotta be. In my mind, like there's no way it's.
Well, that's why
there isn't a fan.
if we go back to I'll switch it up back to the CAD designs where it shows the vent at the top. What I think is interesting when we look at let's see here. Let's get this one up. We got the vent shown. It is on this one right here. They would have to redesign the top a little bit if they're going to have two vents at the top, right? So if you're going to have like a fan over here and a fan over here, maybe they bring this USB-C more to the center and the headphone jack to the center, and whatever this thing is here. I don't know. I think it's a screw place.
Yeah, if you look at my Switch, there it is a screw on the actual
Okay,
Switch.
okay, so that's a screw spot. That's fine. But they could literally get rid of this, move this over here, and then have a vent here and a vent here, and then literally have two fans with two heat sinks. It's not that hard to actually redesign this top to kind of move it around. So
Sure.
Or you channel it all to one.
Yeah, you
vent,
could also
but-
use channels to one. There's some laptops that do that where they have like little channels that push it. But I just find this all to be just really, really interesting, just looking around. Obviously, the whole point of the 3D models is trying to recreate what this actually looks like when it's all completely put together. It's not going to be perfect, and there's a little wonkiness with some of it, but it's just a guy. Like this is kind of cool looking at like the dimension comparisons to the original Switch. I mean, it's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm excited for that. I've been playing a lot of
like this next to the normal Switch.
Be more along the lines of the Steam Deck and stuff.
I've been playing a lot of Steam Deck recently.
Look at that.
And it's how thick it is that makes it weigh a lot, not necessarily the size. And so I think that the fact that the screen is obviously substantially bigger, but it's not as thick as a Steam Deck, that's what's really exciting me in terms of its size. I like my handhelds big. I personally, my 3DS XL, I vastly prefer that over any other kind of DS. I know there's some people that prefer things to be more pocket sized, but the bigger the screen, the better for me. And so this is an improvement in my book.
Yeah, and And no, and I look at the side on here of these, you know, where they have obviously the connection points. You know, like the little hole below the connection point is obviously like a screw hole. And I actually wonder, like, at the top of that right one, is that like the sync button? Did they put it there instead of in the middle?
I mean, I'm looking at my Joy-Con right now, like trying to compare it, and it seems like that's the only thing that's comparable in size to what it is, which would make more sense because if you're holding it, instead of going to the middle to sync, you would just go here on the edge, I guess. Which is another question I had of like, I know the rail system isn't compatible, but do you think we'll still be able to pair old Joy-Cons with the Switch for the sake of multiplayer and just be like, oh, I have all these old Joy-Cons, let me connect them all up, but I can't slide them on?
That would make sense.
100%.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
'Cause these Skyward Sword ones are pretty sick, and I don't want to get rid of them.
Well,
guys think
remember,
it's
they're
gonna-
releasing
it's gonna
that
be-
accessory charge to charge your stuff.
That's true.
And this could be why.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what it's for. Isn't that coming out soon here?
Yeah, like October, November.
October, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
What if they're revealing something in October that suddenly people are panicking over all the old Joy-Con, and they're like, "Don't worry, we have this thing coming out for you." Chris, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, since it seems to be a bit bigger overall, do you guys think it's gonna be more comfortable? Because I do get numb, my fingers numb when I'm playing on my Joy-Cons. Think it's gonna be better because
I'm
it's
getting
a little bit bigger.
If they didn't make these more because these might not be final designs, so there could be more ergonomics to it on the back, or they can add some chunkiness. But if they don't, and this is the final design, it looks like it's thicker than the original Joy-Con, but it wasn't the thickness that was necessarily a problem. It's that like our hands aren't flat like that when we're wrapping our hands around a controller. I'm probably still gonna get a grip.
Let's be real. It's not going to be comfortable at all. Come on. No way.
No, but we've all put
Not
up
at
for
all.
7 years. It's fine. It's fine.
Especially if that hump on the back is even bigger. Ooh.
Yeah. If
That's
they're
my
doing it because the
hopium.
design looks good. That's all it is. It just looks good.
Yeah, I hope it's more comfortable because like I have the Nitro deck
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I have it because it's not comfortable to play for me. Like it literally just digs in right into my hand right here. And I just don't like it between typing all day and just using your hands all day when you play video games for the amount of hours that we do too, especially if you're reviewing games. It's like, dude, I need something comfortable. And I will sacrifice the HD rumble because the Nitro deck doesn't have good rumble. The rumble actually feels like
It's kind of
it feels very last
mild.
gen. Yeah, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. I've read it on Reddit. A lot of people feel that way. So the rumble's not good, but I sacrifice it for the comfortability. So I'm hoping that they do fix this with the new Switch. I think that's a small ask for a lot of people, right? Just make it a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
do.
know if they're going to. I can understand if they don't, because again, look, this looks sleek. You just look at it, it just from a visual standpoint, it does look just sleek the way it's designed. But like I kept thinking, like, because I don't play a ton in handheld anymore. I'm trying to hold this. I'm trying to remember how I did it before I would put a grip on. And I'm like, oh, I think I just put it in and let it dig into my palms. But here's the problem. If I need to use the right stick, it's like,
yeah.
so then I'm like,
I hate
it's
this
like for kids'
finger
hands.
thing.
so then I hold it out like this, and I'm like, well, now I just got like all this space. I need something for my hand to grip onto it. So that's why you get a grip. But I could look if they think it just looks sleeker, and look, accessory manufacturers will also be extremely happy if Nintendo does this again. And honestly, Nintendo might look at it as, hey, yeah, we know it's not the most comfortable design, but it is really comfortable when you're holding it sideways and you're using it like that.
Yeah.
So that's what, for maximum compatibility, it might be awkward if we throw that on there. So just let the accessory makers do it. And you know what? It didn't stop people from buying Switch.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
exactly.
This isn't the days of Mad Cats making controllers.
With fans. You remember those?
Yeah, their controllers were so bad. Like when a friend comes over, you always give them the Mad Cats controller. They never get the first party controllers. We all know that. So like those days are gone, honestly. I mean, look at how many great accessory manufacturers we have. Like all of my old school controllers for like Super Nintendo and Nintendo, they're all 8-bit though. 8-bit though is great. So there's tons of good stuff out there.
Dude, 8-bit though makes a really good PC controller too, guys. It does way better than the Xbox controller does.
I like the Retro Fighters controllers a lot.
Retro Fighters is great too. I got their 64 controller.
But it's not even that. Like I could just start naming them off. Like like Ghoulie Kit, they have Hall sensing sticks and everything.
Yep.
Their controllers are fantastic. Then even the Nyko ones out there are pretty good. They're not like a piece of craps they used to be. They're actually solid. You guys all know the Hori pads. Those are some of the most popular ones out there. They get all the official licensing from Nintendo. Like, people go and buy those all the time at like GameStops and Walmarts. And so like, I can see where Nintendo might not just care about the ergonomics because they're just like, hey, it doesn't matter. We don't care. You're going to put this in a grip and play it on your TV, and that's going to feel good because our grip's going to be ergonomic. Kind of funny that they made even the grip for the Switch. Notice how they didn't just say slide it on and play. They added ergonomics to the grip. It's like Nintendo knows these are not that ergonomic. They do not feel good in the hands.
Yeah.
But hey, that's where third parties come in. They have cheap ones for $20 all the way up, to expensive ones. I just think they just go, hey, people didn't really mind the first time. And if you play for a short session on the go without a grip, it's fine.
Yeah. You'll be okay.
It's fine for a short session. A lot of people aren't like some of us where maybe we're in our bed and handheld for 3 hours playing a game. Most people on the go are playing it for short little 20-minute spurts, and they put it on their TV when they get home. So, and for kids, the kids have small hands. I've never seen my kids complain about the Joy-Cons.
That's the thing, right? Like
I got three different age group of kids. None of them care.
Yeah, my daughter doesn't
matter at all. So,
well, let me ask you this:
Same.
If we get a microphone on the controller, are we gonna get a remake of Seaman?
I sure hope so.
That would be fun.
I still have dreams about that game.
Or Hey You Pikachu for it.
Right? Yeah, that'd be good.
There you go. Odama. We're bringing back Odama.
Hey, that's a deep cut.
That's a good mention. Yeah.
That's a deep cut. There you go, man.
Yeah, we are really going with deep cuts right now. What is happening?
I've got my complete
all the
box copy of
microphone games
Odama
were
right
deep
here.
cuts. Wow.
Oh my god,
Nice.
he just pulled it out. Normally it's Steve pulling out the
Yeah, that's a nice nice one to have for your collection, man.
Yeah,
Very
so
good.
this is an interesting one. So I just bought like a random batch of games a long time ago, and this just came in there. And honestly, I got this like 9 years ago. I didn't even know what it was at the time. But this is a Nintendo published game on the GameCube where you use a microphone to control a army, and there's also like a ball. It's also a pinball game. So this is a bizarre game, and I couldn't get it to work on my Wii, but there it is, Odama. Yeah, what we're looking for is Odama coming back with a microphone on the system.
You never know. I mean, that kind of game feels like it could fill like an endless ocean slot in the calendar.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here's another thought. If we're getting a microphone, are we thinking like 3DS type microphone where you just like use it to blow into and do stuff in a game, or microphone that you can talk into and is kind of legible? Because if there's a microphone
It would
that
have to be that.
you can
Nope,
talk
something.
into that you understand, it would imply that we're finally getting rid of that pesky Nintendo Switch Online app, and you don't need that to talk to people to play games anymore.
Nick,
But
I'm
I
glad you
love
brought
that
that
app.
up. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because when I read about the microphone, I thought about that, and I've failed to say anything, and I'm glad you said something. What do you guys all think? Because I think that'd be really nice. Like if you could actually do chat through the microphone. I mean, it makes sense, right?
It's something that should already be there
I
in my
know.
mind. We shouldn't like be like, well, will it be there? So I would hope so, but